What if the happiest retirees in the world aren't the richest ones? What if they're not living in luxury, but they've figured out something most people miss their entire lives? Financial researchers tracked thousands of retirees across 5 continents for over a decade, and they found something surprising. The ones who felt most secure, most at peace, most free weren't the ones with the biggest nest eggs or the most impressive portfolios. They were the ones who had mastered a few quiet, powerful habits. Habits anyone can copy, starting today. Habits that don't require you to be wealthy, just intentional. In this video, you'll discover what the world's happiest retirees do differently with their money, their time, and their mindset, and how you can start living like them, no matter where you're starting from or how much you have saved. If you want more insights like this to help you thrive in retirement, hit that subscribe button now. We share evidence-based strategies every week to help you live your best life. Now let's dive in. If you've spent decades working hard, saving diligently, doing everything right, but still feel a low hum of anxiety about retirement, you're not alone. Millions of people feel this way. You could hit your savings goals, or you're close, but something still feels off. There's a quiet question that keeps resurfacing late at night. Will it be enough? Will I actually enjoy this, or will I just be managing decline? Will I have purpose, or will I just be waiting? Here's what most people don't realize. Happiness in retirement isn't about net worth. It's about clarity, control, and contentment. And those 3 things, they don't come from having more money. They come from knowing what enough looks like and then building a life around that number. A life with intention. Dan Buettner, the journalist who identified the blue zones, those remarkable regions where people live longest and healthiest, found that financial security mattered far less than purpose and connection. The Harvard Adult Development Study, one of the longest-running studies on happiness, tracked people for over 80 years and reached the same conclusion. Wealth didn't predict fulfillment. Relationships and meaning did, every single time. When researchers surveyed thousands of retirees across income levels in multiple countries, they found something striking. The happiest retirees weren't clustered at the top of the wealth pyramid. They were spread across all levels, from modest savings to significant wealth. What separated them wasn't money. It wasn't luck. It was behavior. It was the choices they made every day. The secret isn't in the account balance. It's in what they stopped worrying about and what they started paying attention to. It's in the habits they built. So what are these habits? Let's break them down, one by one. The first habit of the happiest retirees is simple, but it goes against everything we've been taught. They stopped chasing more. They defined enough, and then they let go. Let me tell you about Robert. Robert is 67 now, a former engineer who spent his 50s obsessed with his portfolio. Every morning, he'd check his accounts before saying good morning to his wife. Market dips kept him up at night. He'd refresh his balance multiple times a day. Then at 63, he sat down with a financial planner and asked one question. What's my enough number? The planner showed him the math. Here's your pension, Social Security, and savings. With your current lifestyle, you have enough to live comfortably for 30 years, maybe longer. Even if the market drops 20%, you're good. Robert felt something shift. For the first time in years, he exhaled. He stopped checking his accounts daily. He deleted the app, and something remarkable happened. His blood pressure dropped. His marriage improved. He started sleeping through the night. Robert didn't retire rich. He retired clearly. Here's the psychology. It's called the hedonic treadmill. No matter how much you accumulate, your brain adjusts. The goalpost moves. Studies show that retirees with a clear spending plan report 40% less financial anxiety than those winging it. So here's the framework. Calculate 3 things. First, your fixed costs: rent, utilities, insurance, groceries, and healthcare, the non-negotiables. Second, your discretionary spending: travel, hobbies, dining out, the things that make life enjoyable. Third, a buffer: unexpected expenses and wiggle room. Add those up to enough numbers. Once you know you can cover that for the next 20 or 30 years, stop optimizing, stop comparing, stop chasing. You're done. You won. Now live like it. The second habit is this: they didn't retire from something. They retired to something. When you spend decades defining yourself by your work and then that work disappears, so does a piece of your identity. Studies show that retirees without purpose experience cognitive decline twice as fast as those who stay engaged. Let me tell you about Tom. Tom is a retired teacher who spent his first year feeling lost. He'd worked for 35 years, defined himself by his classroom. Then suddenly, nothing. His wife noticed he was withdrawing, so she suggested he volunteer. Tom started tutoring at the local library 2 mornings a week. He joined a woodworking class. He started mentoring young teachers online. 5 years later, Tom feels energized. He wakes up with things to look forward to. He's learning, creating, and contributing. He tells people he's busier now than when he was working, but it's a choice. It's meaningful. Harvard's study found that retirees with consistent, meaningful activities live longer and report significantly higher life satisfaction. It's about waking up and knowing that what you do today has value. Before you retire, or if you're already there and feeling lost, answer 3 questions. First, what do I want to learn? Maybe it's a language, an instrument, a craft. Second, who do I want to help? Maybe it's kids, animals, or your community. Third, what do I want to create? Maybe it's art, a garden, furniture, or recipes. The answers don't have to be grand. You just need to know what your days are for. The third habit takes real courage. They permit themselves to enjoy their money, not recklessly, but strategically, intentionally, on the things that actually matter. A lot of retirees live in scarcity mode even when they have enough. They skip the trip. They don't renovate the kitchen. They deny themselves small joys out of fear. But here's what research shows. Your money has peak utility when you're healthy enough to enjoy it. Bill Perkins makes a simple point in his book, Die with Zero. Experiences have a sell-by date. The trip you take at 65 is not the same trip at 85. Waiting too long doesn't make sense. Let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret is 72. She saved her whole life. After her husband passed, she had $400,000 in savings and a paid-off house, but she kept living like she had $40,000. One day, her daughter asked, "Mom, what are you saving it for?" Margaret didn't have an answer. She realized she was hoarding money for some imaginary future emergency. Meanwhile, life was passing her by. So she made a change. She started taking her grandkids on annual trips. She renovated her kitchen. She joined a travel group and went to Ireland. Her accounts are still healthy, but her life is richer. She has memories now, not just statements. The happiest retirees create what I call a joy budget, a guilt-free spending category for things that matter. Create 3 spending buckets. Bucket 1, essentials, housing, food, and healthcare, your foundation. Bucket 2, security, your emergency fund, your safety net. Bucket 3, joy, travel, hobbies, experiences. This is your permission slip. And here's the key. The joy bucket is non-negotiable. It's why you saved in the first place. The fourth habit is something most people resist because it requires letting go of control. They stopped overcomplicating money. They consolidated. They automated. They minimized financial decision fatigue. Over the years, you accumulate accounts. Multiple checking accounts from different banks. 401ks from old jobs you forgot to roll over. 3 brokerage accounts. 5 credit cards. Statements piling up every month. Passwords you can't remember. Every month, you're drowning in paperwork and decisions. Let me tell you about James. James is 68. He had accounts at 4 different banks, 2 financial advisors who didn't talk to each other, and a drawer full of unopened statements he was too overwhelmed to deal with. Then he had a health scare, a minor stroke, and realized something terrifying. If something happened to me tomorrow, my wife wouldn't know where to start. She wouldn't even know what accounts we have. So James simplified. He spent a weekend going through everything. He closed redundant accounts. He picked one bank for checking and savings. He consolidated his investments under one advisor. He set up autopay for every recurring bill. He created a 1-page financial snapshot, a document his wife could understand in 5 minutes. Now James reviews his money once a month, 10 minutes. That's it. No stress, no endless decisions, no confusion. Decision fatigue drains happiness. When your finances are complicated, you're making dozens of tiny decisions every week. Should I pay this bill now or later? Did I already pay that? Which account should I pull from? Retirees with simplified finances report feeling more in control and less anxious about money. Simplify in 3 steps. Step 1. Consolidate accounts. One checking, one savings, one brokerage, if possible. Fewer accounts means fewer statements, fewer passwords, fewer decisions. Step 2. Automate recurring payments, bills, donations, transfers. Set it and forget it. Let technology handle the routine so you can focus on living. Step 3. Create a one-page money dashboard. Income sources, monthly expenses, account balances, net worth. Update it once a quarter. Keep it simple. Keep it visible. Simplicity isn't laziness. It's a strategy that frees up mental energy for what actually matters in life. The fifth habit matters most, and it's the one that gets overlooked the most in retirement planning. They invested in relationships, not just portfolios. Loneliness is being called the hidden epidemic of aging. Harvard's 80-year study on happiness found that relationships are the #1 predictor of happiness and longevity. Not money, not healthy. Relationships. Let me tell you about Carol. Carol is 70. 3 years ago, her husband died after a long illness. She had savings, a paid-off house, and financial security, but emotionally, she felt empty. The house was too quiet. The days were too long. She stopped going to church. She turned down invitations from friends. She spent her days alone, watching TV, going through the motions. She told herself she was fine, but she wasn't. Then her neighbor invited her to a book club. Carol almost said no. She came up with excuses. I'm too busy. I'm not a reader. I don't know anyone. But something, maybe desperation, made her reconsider. She went, and she found her people. 3 years later, Carol hosts monthly dinners. She travels with friends from that book club. She volunteers at a food bank. She tells people she feels more alive now than she did at 60, before her husband got sick. Retirees with strong social ties live an average of 7 years longer than those who are isolated. Social connection protects against cognitive decline, depression, and gives your days meaning. It makes you want to wake up. Build your relationship portfolio with intention. Treat it like an investment, because it is. Weekly rituals. Coffee with a friend every Tuesday. A volunteer group every Saturday morning. A walking club. Something that gets you around people regularly, not just occasionally. Monthly connections. Family dinners. Club meetings. Game nights. Something that deepens relationships over time, that builds history and trust. Annual traditions. Reunions. Trips with old friends. Events you look forward to all year. Moments that become memories. You don't need 100 friends. You need a handful of people who'd notice if you disappeared. People who care if you show up. Here's what all 5 habits have in common. They represent a fundamental mindset shift. They stopped living in fear of what if and started living in trust of enough. Most retirement planning is fear-based. What if I run out of money? What if the market crashes? What if I get sick? What if I live too long? Fear-based planning keeps you in survival mode. It keeps you hoarding, checking accounts obsessively, running worst-case scenarios in your head at 3 a.m. But trust-based planning works differently. It says, I have enough, I have a plan, and if something changes, I'll adjust. I'm not helpless, I'm capable. Trust-based planning unlocks presence. It unlocks joy. Because when you trust that your money can handle your life, you stop managing your money every single day and start living your life. Financial freedom isn't about having infinite money. It's about knowing your money can handle your life, and then living your life without constant fear. Here's the final insight. The happiest retirees stopped waiting for perfect conditions. They didn't wait for the perfect portfolio, the perfect health, the perfect moment. They started living now with what they had, where they were. Let me tell you about Paul. Paul is 74. For most of his 60s, he was waiting for his investments to hit a certain number, waiting for his knee to feel better so he could hike again, waiting to really retire, whatever that meant. He had a list of things he wanted to do someday. Travel to Italy, reconnect with his son, who lived across the country, plant a garden, learn guitar, someday. Then his best friend died suddenly. Heart attack, no warning, healthy one day, gone the next. Paul stood at the funeral and realized something that shook him. There is no perfect time. There's just time, and it's running out for all of us. So he stopped waiting. He booked the trip to Italy, even though his knee wasn't perfect. He called his son and flew out to see him. He planted the garden in his backyard. He bought a cheap guitar and started learning, badly at first, but he didn't care. He's not perfect at any of it, but he's present. And that's enough. That's everything. Perfectionism is fear in disguise. It's a way to delay living. The cost of perfectionism is life itself. You wait for the perfect moment, and it never comes. And then one day, you're out of time. The happiest retirees embrace good enough, because good enough is good enough, and it's a hell of a lot better than never. So let's bring it all together. Happiness in retirement isn't about wealth. It's about clarity, purpose, joy, simplicity, and connection. It's about knowing your enough number and letting go of the endless chase. Retiring to something meaningful, not just from something exhausting. Spending guilt-free on what matters. Simplifying your financial life so it doesn't drain you. And staying connected to people who make life worth living. These aren't secrets, they're choices. Small, deliberate choices you make every single day. Here's what I want you to do next. Choose one habit from today's video. Just one. Write it down. Take one small action this week. Maybe it's calculating your enough number. Maybe it's signing up for that class you've been thinking about. Maybe it's calling an old friend you haven't talked to in years. Maybe it's booking the trip you've been putting off. One habit, one action. This week, the world's happiest retirees weren't born lucky. They made choices, small ones, over and over, until those choices became a life they loved. You've worked your whole life to get here. Now it's time to enjoy the life you've built. Not someday, but today. If this video helped you, subscribe to our channel for more evidence-based insights on living your best retirement. We read every comment and love hearing your stories. Drop a comment below and tell us which habit you're going to start with this week. Your best years aren't behind you, they're just beginning.